Imagine you finally land that massive freelance contract you've just been chasing for months.
Right. Oh, yeah. The dream scenario.
Yeah, exactly. And you're staring at your very first, like, $10,000 invoice. And it looks just incredible on the screen.
Oh, absolutely.
But, the reality is you aren't actually looking at a solid block of income. You're looking at a bucket with a dozen tiny holes drilled into the bottom.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it.
Right. And before that money ever actually reaches your personal bank account, it's leaking out through currency spreads, administrative drag, unpaid downtime.
It's basically the great optical illusion of the modern gig economy, like the mirage of gross income versus the reality of net profit.
Totally.
We're so conditioned to, celebrate that top-line revenue number that we completely ignore the underlying mechanics of what it actually takes to run yourself as a digital business.
Well, welcome to another deep dive. Today, we are taking you straight into the heart of that economic engine. We're navigating the massive, rapidly evolving, and honestly, sometimes completely overwhelming landscape of the 2026 work-from-home economy.
Yeah, it's a lot to take in.
It really is. So rather than looking at a single isolated trend, we're pulling data from a broad stack of global salary guides, tax expert breakdowns, freelance network analytics, just to get the full picture.
Right, because you need that context.
Yeah.
We're looking at data from Legit, Indian VA, PayScale, High-Techers, Easy Expense, EarnStar, Loopaman, and EarnLab. It's a hefty stack.
The very hefty stack.
But our mission for this deep dive is to really map the entire spectrum of how people are generating income online right now. From instant microtasks on your phone all the way up to elite global consulting.
Yeah.
But more importantly, we're going to decode the hidden economics behind those roles so you can understand how to actually capture and, protect the value you're creating.
Okay, let's start at the absolute ground floor. Like we're talking about the entry-level tier. Generating income today, right now, with zero specialized skills.
The immediate gratification tier.
Exactly. According to consumer data from EarnStar, a massive 62% of Americans are currently looking for extra income.
Wow, 62%.
Yeah, over half. And online tasks are their primary preferred method to get it.
Which honestly is entirely logical when you look at the barrier to entry. I mean, there isn't one.
Right.
If you have a smartphone and an internet connection, you can participate. We're looking at the ecosystem of gaming, surveys, and microtasks. Consumer research apps like EarnStar and Swagbucks, they're paying real cash distributions.
And what are we talking, like how much?
Usually ranging from $25 to maybe $300 a month, just to users who play mobile games or provide consumer feedback.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because anyone who has ever attempted to take a paid online survey knows the sheer frustration here.
Oh, the screening out.
Yes. You spend 10 minutes answering incredibly detailed questions only to get hit with a pop-up saying, sorry, you don't match this demographic, and you get absolutely nothing for your time.
It's the worst. But that specific friction is actually driving a major shift in the market right now.
Yeah, really?
Yeah, the data highlights platforms like Top Surveys, they're gaining massive traction, specifically because they've engineered these pre-qualification algorithms.
So they screen you beforehand.
Exactly. They filter the demographic requirements in the background before you even see the survey, which protects the user's time.
That makes so much more sense.
Right. But if we step beyond just giving consumer opinions, we enter the true microtask economy. This is where you see platforms like Amazon Mechanical Turk, Clickworker, and Appen.
Okay, yeah. I know those platforms essentially take massive corporate workloads and shatter them into millions of minute-long digital jobs.
Yes.
But what does that actually look like for the person doing the work?
Okay, so imagine a massive logistics company needs to verify the business hours for 50,000 different storefronts.
Okay.
Instead of hiring a team of full-time employees to do that, they just upload a massive spreadsheet to a platform like Clickworker.
Oh, I see.
And thousands of distributed workers log on, they verify 1 or 2 addresses each, and they get paid a few cents per task.
So it's hyper-fragmented work, basically digging in the couch cushions for loose change.
Yeah, pretty much.
If I'm sitting down to do this, what is my actual hourly expectation? What am I making?
Well, for general entry-level tasks, the baseline sits around $2 to $8 an hour.
Okay, not great.
No, but The premium tier in this space is heavily dominated by platforms like Appen, which focus almost entirely on artificial intelligence training data.
Oh, right, the AI boom.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because you're essentially teaching an AI how to perceive the world, labeling complex images, transcribing nuanced audio. The compensation bumps up to the $8 to $14 an hour range.
Better. But there is a massive operational catch with that higher tier, isn't there?
Oh, yeah. There is. The AI training platforms are notoriously slow with their payment cycles. Workers frequently report waiting 30 to 60 days for those payouts to actually clear.
Wait, a month or two?
Yeah.
I have to challenge the utility of this entirely then.
Yeah.
I mean, if the ceiling for a highly experienced data labeler is maybe $14 an hour, and you're waiting 2 months to see the money, isn't this just treading water?
It definitely can feel that way.
It feels like a trap. You're burning time. You could be spending learning a skill that actually scales.
Right. It is a trap if you view it as a permanent career destination. But the analysts at Loopyman introduce a very strategic counterargument here.
Which is?
The hybrid approach. Their data suggests that abandoning microtasks entirely is a mistake for people who need immediate cash flow, but relying on them exclusively is a path to burnout.
So do both.
Exactly. The strategy is to use the low-friction microtasks to generate your guaranteed baseline income, the literal cash you need to pay a utility bill today.
While simultaneously walling off the rest of your time to aggressively build higher-paying freelance skills.
Oh, I like that. You use the instant low-skill payout to fund your transition into the high-skill market.
Precisely.
That makes total sense. Which brings us to the next massive tier. When you graduate from microtasks, you enter the virtual assistant, or VA, market.
Oh, this is where the numbers get corrected.
Yeah, this sector is experiencing staggering growth. It's projected to hit $55.4 billion by 2035.
And to understand that sheer volume of growth, we have to look under the hood at the economic arbitrage driving it.
Break that down for us.
So the data from Legit and Indian VA paints a very stark picture for corporate hiring. If a business hires a full-time, U.S.-based administrative employee, the true cost of that role factoring in base salary, payroll taxes, healthcare benefits, overhead, it averages around $79,600 a year.
Nearly $80,000 to put a U.S. admin in a seat. Right. Now look at the alternative. If that same company hires a full-time, dedicated virtual assistant based offshore, the total annual cost plummets to roughly $14,400.
Whoa, wait. That is a $65,200 difference per year.
Per role.
Per role. It is no wonder companies are restructuring their entire back offices.
Absolutely.
But I imagine the geography of where you hire completely dictates that pricing model. Like, what does the global talent map actually look like right now?
It's highly segmented. If a business needs a U.S.-based VA, they're paying premium domestic rates, anywhere from $20 to over $100 an hour.
Sure, that makes sense.
But the massive volume is offshore. The Philippines is overwhelmingly the #1 destination.
Because of the high English proficiency, right?
Yes, and the Western cultural alignment. Entry-level rates there sit between $4 and $6 an hour, scaling up to 15 to 30 plus for deep expertise.
And what about companies that need someone working the exact same hours as their U.S. team?
So that demand created the nearshore premium. Latin America fills this void beautifully.
Because they align with U.S. time zones.
Exactly. Nearshore VAs command between $6 and $35 an hour. And then you have India.
Right.
Where the baseline average is roughly 243 rupees, or about $3 to $4 US an hour. But India remains the undisputed global hub when companies are looking for complex technical talent rather than just general administration.
Which highlights a crucial point. It's not just about where the VA lives, it's about the specific value they deliver.
Totally.
Like a general VA handling calendar management or basic email routing is at the lower end of that offshore pay scale.
Yeah, $5 to $10.
Right. But a specialist VA managing the daily operations of an Amazon e-commerce storefront or producing a podcast that commands $10 to $25 an hour.
Yep.
And then you have the tech VAs. These are the people building complex sales funnels or configuring Zapier automations. And they're pulling $20 to $40 an hour.
And we should probably clarify what a Zapier automation is, just to understand the value being created here.
Yeah, good idea.
Think of Zapier as digital duct tape. It's a tool that forces two completely different software programs to talk to each other.
Oh?
So a tech VA might build a system where every time a new lead fills out a form on a website, that data is automatically pushed into a CRM, a welcome email is instantly generated, and a notification pings the sales team on Slack.
Wow.
They're literally building the company's central nervous system.
See, that makes the premium rate completely justifiable.
Yeah.
But I have to ask the uncomfortable question here.
Let's hear.
You mentioned entry-level wages of $3 or $4 an hour in some regions. When we talk about global arbitrage, isn't this inherently a race to the bottom?
It's a fair question.
Doesn't the entire model eventually collapse when businesses realize they can just constantly shop around for the cheapest possible human being?
That is a very common assumption. But what's fascinating here is that the free market is actively punishing companies that treat it like a race to the bottom.
Really? How so?
The salary guides from these offshore agencies explicitly warn employers against trying to pay the absolute rock bottom minimum.
Why? Does the quality of the work just plummet?
Quality drops, yes, but the real killer is catastrophic turnover.
Oh, I see.
If an employer pays the absolute minimum, that worker has zero loyalty. They will leave the moment another agency offers them 50 cents more an hour.
Which makes total sense.
Right. And the friction and cost of constantly recruiting, onboarding, and retraining a new assistant every 3 months, it completely wipes out whatever money the employer thought they were saving.
So it's economically far more efficient to pay a premium living wage from day one to retain the talent.
Exactly. Plus, doing this correctly isn't entirely free of overhead for the employer anyway.
Right. There are hidden costs for them, too.
Oh, absolutely. In the Philippines, for example, there's a deep cultural and often legally mandated standard known as 13th month pay.
13th month.
Yeah, it's effectively an extra month's salary distributed in December. If an overseas company tries to skirt that, they lose all credibility. The employer also has to absorb international transfer fees to ensure the VA receives their full negotiated wage, and they have to purchase extra software seats like Slack or Asana to integrate the VA into their internal tech stack.
So sustainable arbitrage requires actual investment. It's not just extreme cost cutting.
Not at all.
But let's flip the perspective. That's how the employer benefits. If I am the freelancer on the other side of the screen, how do I actually capture some of that massive value?
Right.
Because even if I become a premium tech VA, trading my hours for dollars still has a hard mathematical ceiling. You only have so many hours in a day. How are people breaking past that?
Well, you have to completely detach your income potential from the clock.
Okay, how?
The side hustle data from Earnstar outlines the high-skill niches where this is happening. In 2026, the fastest growing sector by far is AI consulting.
AI consulting.
Yeah, we're seeing businesses eagerly paying $80 to $175 an hour for specialized prompt engineers.
Okay, let's stop there. $175 an hour just to type prompts into ChatGPT. That sounds completely absurd to anyone outside the tech bubble.
I know, it sounds absurd until you look at the underlying mechanism of what they are actually selling.
Okay.
A high-level prompt engineer is not just typing questions into a chat box. They're building complex, automated workflows using advanced AI models.
Give me an example.
They might design a system that automatically ingests a company's daily customer service emails, analyzes the sentiment, categorizes the urgency, and drafts highly accurate custom responses.
Oh, wow.
Right. The business isn't paying for an hour of typing. They're paying a premium because that system just permanently eliminated 20 hours of manual labor a week for their internal team.
They're buying back their own time.
Exactly. And the sources point out this same dynamic exists with no-code app building.
Oh, like Bubble or Zapier.
Precisely. Using visual programming platforms like Bubble, which essentially allows you to build fully functional software by dragging and dropping logic blocks instead of writing traditional code. A freelancer can build a custom internal tool for a business in a matter of days.
And what do they charge for that?
They're charging $500 to $5,000 per project.
Wow. So they're selling the outcome, not the hours it took to build.
Exactly.
And if you want to avoid corporate clients entirely, the data points heavily toward digital assets. User-generated content, or UGC, is massive right now.
Huge.
Consumer brands will pay anywhere from $150 to $600 for a single short-form video of you genuinely reviewing their product.
Yeah, and the beauty of UGC is that you don't even need a personal social media following.
Right, because the brand uses your video for their own paid advertising.
Yep. Or you go the digital product route.
Like Etsy templates.
Yeah, designing Notion templates or specialized industry spreadsheets. You put in the hours to build it exactly once, And your profit margin on every subsequent sale is virtually 100%.
Which is incredible. But choosing which of these paths to take is often the biggest hurdle. The research frameworks distill this decision down to 5 core variables.
Right. The 5 factors.
Yeah. Your specific skills, your budget to start, your target income goal, your timeline for seeing returns, and most importantly, your available time.
The time metric is crucial because 54% of individuals operating a side hustle are dedicating less than 5 hours a week to it.
Less than 5 hours. Here's where it gets really interesting. That time constraint perfectly explains the strategy of side hustle stacking.
Oh, I love this concept.
It's exactly like building a traditional investment portfolio. You don't put all your money into highly volatile tech stocks. You balance it.
You create a spectrum of risk and reward.
Exactly. Your safe, guaranteed cash flow, your government bonds, essentially, are those entry-level surveys and microtasks we discussed first. The money is low, but it's guaranteed and immediate. Then you allocate whatever time you have left into your high-risk, high-reward ventures, your volatile stocks.
That's where you invest time building an AI consulting business or designing a digital product.
Exactly. It might pay nothing for 3 months, but the upside potential is uncapped.
You are systematically protecting your downside while exposing yourself to massive asymmetric upside.
Which is the dream scenario.
Yeah.
Making $10,000 a month on a few consulting projects sounds incredible.
It does.
But we need to do a harsh reality check here.
Yeah.
Because this brings us right back to the leaky bucket I mentioned at the top of the show.
Ah, yes, the bucket.
We love talking about gross revenue, but how much of that 10 grand invoice do you actually get to keep?
Yeah, this is where the analysis from high-techers becomes absolutely vital for anyone operating independently. They meticulously track the hidden costs that silently erode a freelancer's profit margins.
Okay, lay it on us.
Let's look at the operational drag first. Managing your own business development pitching, writing proposals, hunting for clients consumes roughly 10 to 20% of your total working hours.
Wow, 20%.
Yeah.
And not a single minute of that is billable to a client.
Nope. It's a massive tax on your time. And then you have the admin side.
Right.
Preparing bespoke contracts, chasing down late invoices, managing your accounting. That administrative friction eats another 10 to 15% of your capacity.
Just on paperwork.
Yeah. And then there's the reality of the freelance cycle. Unpaid downtime.
Oh, right. Because you don't always have a new client lined up the second you finish a project.
Exactly. It's incredibly rare to have back-to-back, perfectly sequenced contracts. Freelancers must structurally account for 1 to 2 months of unpaid gaps between projects every year.
A whole month or two of zero income.
Yeah, which automatically reduces your annual earning potential by 8 to 16%.
And we haven't even touched the literal financial fees.
Right. If you're serving global clients and relying on traditional banking or platforms like PayPal, the currency conversion spreads and cross-border transfer fees will instantly slice 2 to 5% off the top of every single invoice you issue.
Not to mention accounting and legal fees, which high-techers notes can run $2,000 to $5,000 annually.
Right.
So what does this all mean strategically?
Oh.
I mean, if I look at the structural reality of losing 15% of my week to admin, another 15% to finding the next client, accounting for inevitable project gaps and bleeding out through transfer fees, my actual net profit for every hour I sit at my desk is completely fundamentally disconnected from the hourly rate I put on my website.
It is. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, it explains the massive burnout rate among independent consultants.
And they think they're crushing it.
They believe they're charging a premium, but when they run the underlying math on their non-billable hours, they're sometimes netting less than minimum wage. This is why the analytical sources absolutely insist on using dedicated time tracking software like Toggle. You have to ruthlessly track your non-billable hours so you can mathematically adjust your rates to compensate.
It also explains the rise of smart employment models, doesn't it?
It does. Companies like high-techers have built an entire business model around solving this exact friction.
How does that work?
They essentially act as an umbrella company for high-level freelancers. The freelancer brings their clients, but the umbrella company actually employs the freelancer, effectively W-2ify them.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, the umbrella company handles all the international tax compliance, the cross-border invoicing, and the legal admin for a set margin.
Which shields the freelancer from the liability.
And allows them to reclaim that lost 30% of their week to do actual revenue-generating work.
But if you decide to fly completely solo, without an umbrella company shielding you, you have to be wildly aggressive about your tax write-offs to claw some of that lost value back.
Oh, 100%.
The tax experts at Easy Expense outline exactly how digital workers are doing this in 2026. You aren't just paying for things out of pocket anymore.
No, you can't afford to.
You're legally converting life expenses into business deductions. You're deducting the proportional square footage of your home office from your rent. You're writing off a percentage of your residential internet and utilities.
Every software subscription, every website hosting fee, and every professional development course becomes a tool to lower your taxable burden.
Exactly. You're deducting 50% of the cost of business meals and even niche expenses like roadside assistance if you're actively driving to meet a client.
You have to claim every single one.
You really do. You have to protect your margins from taxes and administrative drag, but you also have to protect your actual labor from outright theft.
The scams.
Yes. The gig economy is unfortunately rife with exploitation. Earnstar's security breakdown specifically highlights the mechanical red flags of modern scams.
The mechanics of these scams usually prey on the desire for quick, frictionless income. The golden rule is that if a platform ever requires an upfront fee or asks you to purchase a starter kit to get access to jobs, you must walk away immediately.
Period.
Legitimate platforms take a cut of the money they help you make. They do not charge you for the privilege of working.
They also warn against anything guaranteeing an unusually high fixed income for basic tasks, or like structures that resemble multi-level marketing where your pay is dependent on recruiting others.
Yeah, MLMs disguised as gig work.
Exactly. And if a client demands your social security number before you've signed a verified contract, or the app has 0 verifiable third-party reviews, you are not the employee.
You're the product being monetized.
Protect your data, protect your time, and really understand the economic structure you're operating within.
That's the key right there.
Well, we have covered a massive amount of ground today.
We really have.
We mapped the entire journey, starting from the baseline of playing mobile games and shattering corporate workloads into microtasks. We scaled up to the $55 billion virtual assistant market, unpacking the global arbitrage that is fundamentally changing how companies build their teams.
Yep.
We looked at how freelancers are breaking the hourly ceiling through AI consulting and no-code development. And finally, we pulled back the curtain on the leaky bucket of hidden costs, administrative friction, and the defensive strategies required to actually keep the money you earn.
It's an incredibly complex ecosystem, but the central takeaway is clear. Whether you're executing a simple survey or orchestrating a highly complex automated AI workflow, the defining survival skill of the 2026 digital economy is knowing the mathematical value of your time and engineering the systems required to capture it.
Which brings up one final, somewhat unsettling dynamic for you to mull over as we wrap up.
Okay.
We noted earlier that microtask workers on platforms like Appen are actively labeling data for a few dollars an hour. Their literal job is to teach artificial intelligence how to understand human workflows.
Right.
At the exact same time, businesses are eagerly paying elite AI consultants $175 an hour to implement that incredibly smart AI to automate their corporate operations.
It's the two extreme ends of the spectrum feeding into each other.
Exactly. So we have to ask, are we rapidly accelerating toward a barbell gig economy? If this AI continues to get exponentially better at handling routine administration, does the traditional middle-tier virtual assistant, like the person just doing basic calendar management and email routing, eventually get completely squeezed out?
Wow. This raises a critical question about the structural future of the digital middle class. The demand is polarizing.
Are we going to be left with an hourglass economy where there are only two types of online workers? The absolute beginners at the bottom, feeding raw data into the machines for pennies, and the elite tech specialists at the top, commanding massive premiums to orchestrate those machines with absolutely nothing left in the middle.
It's a sobering
Something to think about the next time you sit down to bill your hours. Make sure you're building the skills that put you on the right side of that barbell. Protect your time and patch the holes in your bucket. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll see you next time.